Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Teaser Review Part 3. Today, we're diving deep into episode 16 of ABO Desire the series, and honestly, this might be one of the most shocking, hilarious, and emotionally layered episodes we've had so far. It perfectly captures the chaotic balance between romance, absurdity, and deep affection that defines the relationship between Sheng Xiaoyu and Huang. If you thought their story had already pushed boundaries, wait until you see how far this episode takes it. At this point in the series, the once unbreakable alpha Sheng Xiaoyu has slowed down significantly. The once fierce, always composed biotech chairman is now struggling to keep up with the physical strain of his rare pregnancy. What makes this storyline so fascinating is the show's commitment to blending emotional realism with fantasy biology. The writers don't shy away from the complexities of male pregnancy in an alpha's body, how the reproductive cavity, formed by Huang's enigma mark, is fragile, and how this fragility becomes the emotional and physical core of the episode. We start the episode with Sheng Xiaoyu trying to keep his professional composure during an important gene research project presentation. Despite his physical discomfort, he's still the image of power and control in front of reporters and company representatives. Huang, always at his side as the ever-attentive secretary, watches him closely. There's an unmistakable tenderness in the way Huang supports him down the stairs, and this quiet act of care immediately sets the tone for the episode. Their relationship has evolved from manipulation and pride into mutual dependence and protection, even though both are still too stubborn to admit it outright. However, this illusion of control shatters when Sheng Xiaoyu almost collapses. The pain hits suddenly, caused by Peanut, their unborn child, who's growing stronger by the day and quite literally kicking his father from the inside. What's remarkable here is how the show uses this moment not just for physical tension but as a metaphor for Sheng Xiaoyu's internal conflict. For a character who's spent his life trying to dominate every situation, losing control over his own body is terrifying. And yet, Huang's immediate reaction, to rush him to the hospital, to take charge without hesitation, shows how far he's come from the arrogant playboy we met in earlier episodes. When they reach the hospital, we meet Dr. Hong, who's been a recurring figure throughout the story. His diagnosis is both serious and strangely comedic. The baby's strength is far beyond normal, and the thinness of Sheng Xiaoyu's reproductive cavity poses a real risk. For the first time, we see Huang completely stripped of his usual confidence. His panic is raw and honest. But before things can get too grim, the show brilliantly shifts tone with one of its most outrageous yet surprisingly intimate sequences, the medical suggestion that Huang should have more sex with Sheng Xiaoyu to stabilize the pregnancy. This scene is where the show's writing shines. It balances clinical logic with romantic absurdity, giving us both laughter and emotional depth. Hong, completely serious, explains that Huang's enigma pheromones can strengthen Sheng Xiaoyu's reproductive structure through remarking and regular intimacy. The absurdity of this recommendation is undeniable, but it's also used to explore trust and vulnerability in their relationship. Sheng Xiaoyu's reaction is pure disbelief and irritation. His face says it all. He suspects Huang bribed the doctor, which leads to one of the episode's funniest exchanges. Despite his anger, Sheng Xiaoyu can't entirely deny the truth in Hong's explanation. There's a beautifully awkward tenderness in how Huang kneels beside his bed, taking Sheng Xiaoyu's hand and speaking softly, calling him Mr. Sheng. For once, Huang isn't teasing or arrogant, he's genuinely afraid of losing him. The pheromone-soaked air becomes a symbol of their emotional entanglement, soothing, intoxicating, and impossible to escape. The moment that follows feels almost like a throwback to their early dynamic. Sheng Xiaoyu's pride clashes with his growing dependence on Huang. He remembers the first time Huang marked him without consent, an act that once filled him with fury. Back then, it was a violation. Now, that same mark feels like a lifeline. It's one of the most emotional reversals in the series, showing how love can grow out of chaos, even when it's messy and unconventional. And just when we think things can't get more awkward, the old obstetrics expert enters the scene, offering his scientific support for Kai Hong's suggestion. He even quantifies it, 5 times a week, 2 additional markings. The humor here is absolutely intentional, but it's also laced with an undercurrent of tenderness. The idea that Huang devotion, even through something as ridiculous as a medical prescription for intimacy, becomes the key to keeping Sheng Xiaoyu and Peanut safe, gives the episode a strange but powerful emotional resonance. One of the best parts of this episode is how it humanizes both characters. Sheng Xiaoyu, usually the dominant force, becomes fragile and uncertain. Meanwhile, Huang, who was once reckless and manipulative, now becomes a pillar of strength and care. The roles have completely reversed, and yet, their bond feels stronger than ever. It's love redefined, not through grand declarations, but through shared vulnerability and quiet acts of support. By the end of the episode, the comedic tone fades into a more introspective one. As Huang promises to follow the medical advice, his expression is soft but determined. He's no longer doing it out of desire alone, he's doing it because he genuinely loves and wants to protect Sheng Xiaoyu. And Sheng Xiaoyu, for all his protests, doesn't push him away this time. There's a small but meaningful shift in his attitude, a silent acknowledgement that Huang has earned his trust. Episode 16 also expands the world beyond their romance. We see how their relationship affects the professional lives, the fusion of business and personal stakes. Sheng Xiaoyu's public image as a brilliant chairman contrasts with his private struggle as a pregnant alpha. Huang's dual role as both secretary and partner becomes even more complicated, and the tension between professionalism and affection deepens. Thematically, this episode highlights the fragility of control. Sheng Xiaoyu, who once saw himself as untouchable, now has to accept help. Huang, who once used love as a weapon, now uses it as protection. Their relationship, built on power imbalance, is slowly evolving into something healthier and more equal. The absurdity of the doctor's advice and the comic undertones don't take away from the emotional gravity, it enhances it. The show uses humor to explore serious questions about love, pride, and vulnerability. What makes this episode so compelling is how it turns an outlandish concept into an emotional experience. The pregnancy isn't just a plot twist, it's a metaphor for growth, for change, for the creation of something new between them. Sheng Xiaoyu's fear, Huang's devotion, and the life growing inside them all symbolize how love transforms even the most unlikely people. Episode 16 of ABO Desire the series is both dramatic and absurd, intimate and hilarious, but above all, deeply romantic. It's about 2 people learning to trust each other completely, to love beyond pride, and to face the future together no matter how strange it gets. By the end, when Huang proudly accepts the 5 times a week challenge, we can't help but laugh, but we also feel the warmth of his love for Sheng Xiaoyu. It's ridiculous, yes, but it's also sincere.